y'all, it's your girl, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, and you are tuning into one of the best shows in sports, The Chris Gunther Show. Stay tuned.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Chris Gunther Show. Thank y'all so much for watching. Remember to like and share this video. I would greatly appreciate it. If you've been following me, you know I've been on the move and I've been able to connect with so many amazing people. And our special guest today definitely fits that description. She is one of the most, I think, successful and accomplished young Black journalists that everyone is constantly talking about. She's won multiple awards. So without any further ado, the Chris Gunther Show welcomes Kelsey Nelson. What's going on with you?
Hey Chris, thank you so much for having me and that very kind introduction. It's been just amazing to meet you and now see your journey first and foremost. I also want to congratulate you, Chris, on everything that you are doing, the Black excellence that you exemplify each and every day. So thank you for motivating me and pushing me and thinking I'm cool enough, Chris, to join you here on this show.
Well, I appreciate you for accepting because I do know you probably get things like this all the time. And, sometimes because of our schedules, we just can't accommodate. But, I appreciate you for taking this time out. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. We met at the Sports Power Brunch a month ago in Vegas. And,
Yeah.
and I'll go ahead and share this. When I seen you, I'm like, she looks extremely familiar. And I was just like, okay, I feel like I know her from somewhere. And then, we had a chance to finally talk and connect. I'm like, now it's hitting me. So it was really
That's
nice.
amazing. I love that you came up, Chris. Like I always tell people, like, please come talk to me. And I will I think we're both extroverted people. So I'm so glad that, you came up and I felt like you were family, honestly, when I met you. Like how you like saw me before. I feel like I've known you, Chris, like in another life or somehow we've been connected. And you're just such good vibe, good spirits. And what a great event, right? To meet at. It was phenomenal.
It was. And, I seen you doing your thing on the red carpet. I said, man, I got to connect with her. But, before the red carpet, everybody has a backstory. Everyone has a journey. Can you share with us a little bit about yours?
Oh my gosh, well, I love this question, like you said, because to get somewhere, you have to know where you came from. And so for me, I always share this because I'm very proud of where I came from. And it's honestly, Chris, been a village that has helped me to be, where I am today. Here now, 31 years, I'll say, in the game. So born and bred in the DMV area. That's DC, Maryland, and Virginia for folks that don't know. When I was in Vegas, I'm learning more and more that not everybody knows what DMV means.
Right.
But so just wanted to make that disclaimer. But I think my journey started honestly from two strong Black parents, Chris, that instilled in me from the day I came out the womb that I could be whatever I wanted to be in this world, in a world that Chris is not always loving, that's not always forgiving. And so I think my journey started out like most people. Smaller size baby, had asthma and everything else, and so I think from the time I came out, honestly, I was like defying the odds, right, and having to fight and having to battle and being an underdog. And I think that's kind of the story that I've embraced. From a young age, always being underestimated, always having to prove myself, Chris, in rooms, whether that be in the classroom, in academics, where luckily I was able to excel just working really hard, whether that was in sports, played a bunch of sports growing up. I still have many scars and bruises, from those days. And just kind of just knowing like, what I wanted to do wasn't easy, Chris. So that meant, grinding and honestly learning early too that I had to build my own table, early on. So, and also always raising my hand. I think that's really been my story. Like I always tell people like I don't think anybody can outwork me. And some people say, is it proud to be, hardworking? For me, yes. Because I saw that firsthand. My grandmother had eighth grade education. But when I used to spend my summers with her in Jackson, Mississippi, I saw how hard she would work in other people's homes, cleaning their homes and, coming back and giving everything, to her family. I come from sharecroppers. That's the lineage that, I come from here, Black Southern family. So literally everybody in my family, all I saw them, Chris, was working. And then HBCUs were also introduced to me early on. All my aunts went to Jackson State University. Dad went to Grambling. So when you grow up in the world of HBCU athletics, you know the competitive edge, bites early. So that's honestly been my story. Like growing up in both. I'm a Southern East Coast girl, which is probably a weird mix, but we exist. I'm living proof of that. But honestly, like I said, just putting myself forward. Like I said, when I say raising my hand, that meant I was always, if there was a story to cover, I always wanted to do that. Always making sacrifice, Chris. Not always being able to go out, with folks and people because I knew I had to go, cover this story. Or, and I was editor in chief of the yearbook. That meant a lot of my weekends were gone in high school, but I had to go get those stories, to produce something, and it meant something. And then I think for me also just knowing that legacy, I always wanted to leave something behind because I just always wanted to be somebody, Chris. Like, and I think everybody's somebody, but I want to be somebody that folks remembered. And that's kind of what drove me and pushed me. That's honestly been the journey.
There's been a lot to unpack there. I can clearly see the Southern in you because it's something about, and I've met a nice amount of them. It's something about people from down south, particularly women. It seems like down south women are way nicer,
Oh
way
yeah.
more
Oh,
kind,
I'm super
and
nice. Like
yeah,
if
like it's
anybody knows
something
I'm
about
mean,
the
they've done something.
right. And I'm the exact same way. Like there's two people that don't like me, weirdos and haters. And
Oh, I like
sometimes
that. I'm gonna steal that from you, Chris. I
go
like
ahead
that.
and do it. Yeah, it's two people that don't rock with your boy, weirdos and haters. And sometimes
Yeah.
people that just don't like anybody, and you can't
Yeah.
waste your time with that. And
Yeah.
like as I was listening to you, you had something that stood out to me the most was how you had said sacrifice. We
Ooh, yeah.
live in a day and age now where everybody thinks that success is microwavable,
Ooh,
where okay, I'm
yeah.
just gonna post this video and the next day I'm gonna be on Fox
I'll be
Sports or
viral,
ESPN.
right?
It doesn't work like that. How have you managed to pretty much reward yourself even with the sacrifices that you had to make?
I think the biggest thing is I've always been humble, and I think there's a connotation to that. But, I think when you're humble, again, everything that happens to you, I'm grateful for, Chris. I'm thankful. I know you've seen my posts, like everything, and I hope people know, like, it's natural. Like, I really am everything. Like, I just feel like God continues to bless me. But, when you talk about sacrifice, it's so easy to say that, but a lot of folks don't want to do it. And so, what I always say, Chris, is everyone tells us to dream.
Yep.
Everyone always tells us to dream. No one asks you what's your plan for that dream. How are you going to get there? And what are you going to do to pivot when the dream doesn't go as planned, right? And so I think that's
Right.
kind of what motivates me, and pushes me. And so, like I said, I think, like I said, I've wanted this so bad, to be doing what I'm doing. And there's many things I'm doing that I had never even dreamed of doing, Chris, but I still want more. And I think when you're always hungry, I have something on my computer that, like, every single day when I open my computer, when I'm logging up my MacBook, and it's from Lamar Jackson, and it says, "Nobody cares, work harder." And that's a quote that Lamar Jackson said. And we know how accomplished Lamar Jackson is. Nobody cares, work harder. And it's always about what you've done lately. And so I think that's what pushes and motivates me. What I did yesterday, what I did last year, Chris. Oh, that was great. Kelsey did that. But what's she doing next?
I'm the
What's
same
the
way.
plan? Right. And so that's why my mind, Chris, is always going. It's always thinking. And like I said, when I say sacrifice, that means to achieve this goal for me, that's meant saying no to a lot of things. You said it earlier. Like, I try to do as many shows and podcasts as I can, but sometimes obviously I can't because, one, I have to protect my peace and mental health and make sure
Absolutely.
all the different things that I'm doing. But then also it means being intentional, Chris, about what I say yes to and what makes sense for me. Right. So, like last night, I was at a kickoff sports philanthropy event with some people that I met, like you, in Las Vegas from Super Bowl. And if anybody follows me, they know I do a lot in the sports philanthropy world. Right. So it was intentional to be there. DC is home. Right. And I like to think that anything sports in DC, I have a pulse and hand on. So super important, for me to be there. But it also meant, unfortunately, I had to miss a good friend's birthday, Chris, that I couldn't be at. I couldn't be two places at once unless
Yeah.
somebody has the doppelganger thing figured out. I just couldn't do that. And yeah, she knows I care for her, right? And love her, but I just can't always be there in the present. I think that can be hard for people. Like, what are you willing to sacrifice? So, like you said, people think it's like, I wish I could say, the K&N brand was built overnight. Folks, I graduated college, undergrad in 2014. And I think the brand was really in the making in college. So from 2010 till now, 2014, that's 14 years in the making this brand has been. And that meant in college, again, I was busy. I was busy, folks. I was taking about, nobody should ever do this, 25 credits my last semester of college because I had switched majors.
25.
25.
Woo.
I had to get special permission, so you already know my last semester of college, Chris, was not fun. I was
No, not
working.
not at
I
all.
was working. I was doing so much, but it was the sacrifice that was needed to reach my goal. Right. And that's what I said. And then even my branding, K&N, that's why it's in everything I do. That started many years ago. And now luckily it's taken off, but I had to be intentional about where I was pushing that, what the name was behind. Even now I'm in the process. And so nobody can steal this. I'm trademarking it. Right. That's mine.
As you
That's,
should.
that's intentional, right? So all of this to say, like I said, I think as much as you can be intentional about what the sacrifice is, but again, know what's needed to get to the goal. Yes, some people can reach overnight fame and success, but what about the longevity of that fame and success? We know so many people that got hot for a minute. Where are they now, right? And so
One
for
hit
me,
wonders.
I want it to be long standing. I don't want this narrative of Kelsey Nicole Nelson to play on and on and on, Chris. I want it to be the diss track that you never stop. You tell the DJ to play it again because you just want you can't get enough of it. And that's kind of what motivates me. That's what pushes me. And that's what I say. So for me, sacrifice is a daily part of life To quote Karan Butler, to have that sacrifice, dedication, determination, and discipline is what folks need, I think, to achieve their goals. And that's really what drives and motivates me each and every single day.
You've accomplished a lot in that time period as well. People don't just go from having, grew up in the DMV area to
Yeah.
covering those sports to working at Fox Sports and covering things for the NFL and things of that nature. It's not an easy thing to do. Like, what was that process like for you?
Again, I'm grateful, and thankful. But, I think the biggest thing is one, no, people are always watching. Like people are always like, Kelsey, you want to
Always.
awards and things. But believe me, like I didn't get into this, Chris, to win awards. Like, yes, believe me, I'm thankful. They're great and they're nice, great. And I'd love to win some more.
I
But
understand. I'm trying to get at least one. I feel you.
look,
Yeah.
look, because it's nice to know that other folks have recognized the work that you've done. And sometimes when you're in the trenches, and I'm in the trenches a lot, I think sometimes you forget that like there's people that are rooting for you. Like you said, there's a lot of haters out there, but there's a lot of people that are rooting for you and generally, love you. And so I think for me, like I said, I think just like I said, having a plan, keeping focus to that plan. But the biggest thing, Chris, I've learned is knowing how to pivot. So a lot of times people see the glory, right? But they don't know the story. And they don't, I still keep to
Facts.
this day an email of all the no's and rejections I've ever gotten till this day, in
I
my box.
screenshot a lot of them, so I
Because
understand.
it's a lot and people don't see that. Yes. And usually we don't show that. And I think for me, honestly, the hardest thing is vulnerability. Like it's easy for all of us to show wins. It's a lot harder for me to show losses and I can talk about them. But like I said, it's just something for me because I've always just learned to be a strong Black woman. Right. So I think that's something I'm working on. But every time I look in that folder, I've realized every no, I have to turn that around, Chris, and turn it into on because that means God is turning me on and putting me on to something else and something better. And
Right.
that's honestly been my story. So you talk about what I've done. So for every job that y'all see me doing, there was another job that told me, no, Kelsey doesn't fit us. Still to this day, I don't have enough expertise or experience and, to each their own. But all that to say, again, that means God had something bigger and better for me. And so that's kind of why I've been able to, again, do all these different things. That's why I've learned the power of freelancing and the beauty, right, of also essentially kind of being my own boss in that sense and, getting to work for who is right. I think in this stage of my life too, Chris, I'm not just trying to look for opportunities to benefit a company. I want to see how that can also benefit me. So meaning making sure it's the right fit, right? Making sure that whatever I'm doing is going to also benefit me, in a way. And luckily I'm in the situation I can do that in. So I think, keeping and also I think keeping unique and true to who you are,
Right.
Chris, I'm true to it, not new to it. I've been doing this a long time, right? And I live this, I breathe this, I teach this, right? So all that to say, like, this is something that I'm passionate about. It's very important for me to use my platform to do all these different things and show people what I'm passionate about. And it's all for the greater purpose, right? Of Kelsey Nicole Nelson reaching and achieving what she wants to do. So again, I think keeping focus, knowing when to say no, Chris. But again, all those different companies and things that I've worked for too, I think I've been in the right rooms and places, or I've had people speak about me in the right rooms and places. So also I'd say the power and beauty of networking and just being good to people along the way. Like I know that's so easy to say. I think I'm naturally like a nice person. Like I love talking to everybody. Like if you're ever with me in an arena or a game, I'm talking to the attendants. I want to know their story. I want to know who you are, right? Beyond.
Absolutely.
And so I think, but I mean, it's been amazing to me sometimes when I hear people that have mentioned me and a name and room. And it's just a simple like short combo we had, but they were touched or something by that, right? So I think also just knowing like you never know where your next opportunity is going to come from and be willing, ready, and able. And the biggest thing I'll say, Chris, is I've always stayed ready. I've never had to be
Always.
ready. I've always stayed ready, right, for that next thing. And so I'm always prepared, which means a lot of long nights, but that means I'm always thinking ahead, thinking forward for what can happen and what God will make happen.
I'm the same way, and I feel like that's why we kind of just hit it off instantly,
Yeah.
just from this interaction and
Yeah.
from seeing you on the purple carpet and the way that you were able to conduct yourself and
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and share this. One of the things I'll tell on me, I firmly believe in being nice to people, but I
Yeah.
also believe in making sure that we have this standard about us that makes
Mhm.
that we have to continue to live by. And there
Yeah.
were a couple things that I had picked up on that I wasn't really too fond of, but
Mm.
I still got to stay professional and
You
you
do.
still have to stay locked in just because you
Yeah.
never know what can happen.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned it, just be nice to people. And
Yes.
thank God that the people that were working behind the scenes were actually nice people because we all know how this stuff can go behind the scenes real quick. Sometimes
It gets a
people
little
can.
crazy sometimes.
Oh my goodness, yes,
Yeah.
it does. But to have, connected with people such as you and Cherie Nicole and all of these
Ah,
amazing other, women. And I just wanted to make sure that we highlight what you guys are doing because it's not easy.
oh.
It is not easy to, first of all, it's not easy being black. Let's just be real. And
Mm,
then it's 10 times harder when you're a woman. Like I give y'all a lot of credit because you got to be twice as good to get half the credit, and then somebody else could come in and try and steal all of the stuff that you worked hard for. But
yeah.
to see the kind of things that you've been able to do, I got to get behind that.
Thank you so. I mean, that means so much. And Chris, I champion you, our Black Kings, because that purple carpet, Chris was. I mean, there was Black cameramen that was there, which was great. But Chris was, I think, one of the few. I'm trying to remember if there was any other man with a mic there.
I
I
was
think
the
it
only
might have
one
just
there.
been. It was just you, but you were comfortable. You were so greeting, and I think that's also important, right, for us to be able to champion each other in our spaces. But especially like women, we need y'all there, right? We want y'all to help us tell the story because then it becomes a stronger story. So, Chris, thank you for also putting women first, putting women's sports first and giving it the same love, attention, and your time, treasures, and talents that you give everything else. I think that's so important. And I think that also needs to be highlighted because I've seen you everywhere as well. But that event, I mean, it was important to you. You could tell, and you were excited about it. And people could
Absolutely.
feel that and they could breathe on that. And so I just absolutely love that about you.
I appreciate that. And, I think one of the best parts about an event like that is seeds are planted and you never know how they're going to harvest. You've planted
Yeah.
a lot of seeds throughout your career and you're starting to reap the harvest of it. What
Ooh.
advice would you give to other seed planters that are looking for their harvest?
This is good. I think a lot of times in life, Chris, I think we meet people, right? And sometimes we don't know why we meet them, right? But it's like it's something about them. But I think the biggest thing that people miss out on is you, like you said, you plant a seed, but what do you have to do to make sure that seed is nurtured? You got to go back to it. You got to give it time, right? You got to check on it. Make sure there's no bugs trying to mess up your plant, right? Once it starts to grow. If you know about gardening, you got to pull them weeds. Some of us have been in the field, so some of y'all know.
Oh,
All
yes.
that to say, meaning that, when how do you follow up, right? Like me, Chris, I would have never imagined that I would be a professor here in DC, right? It was never really on the bingo cards, right? But there were people that I've met along this journey that have put me in that position, right? But there were people that I've stayed connected with, right? People that I continue to say, hey, check up on, right? Those seeds, making sure they're good, making sure they're supported. And then when that flower blossoms and blooms, what happens? People want to come see it. They want to be part of it, right? I want how'd you do that? And I think that's really been my story. And so I think that's the biggest thing is like making sure that you're making real, true, genuine connections with folks. Me and Chris have only met that time in person, but Chris, you're a perfect example of that. You check in, you see how things are going. Like
Make
that's
sure to give
important.
y'all a follow on social media.
There you always important. And I think that's so important. Like I said, you always have to check back in. And like I said, just like a dream, you got to check back in on that dream. There's many times I've had to erase things, cross things out because things have changed, right? So when I go back to that original plan, I'm like, maybe that's not the road to go. And also sometimes I think too, like I said, when I say pull them weeds out, because sometimes you have to pull negative things and negative people out of that plan or out of that
Sure
dream. I
do.
think that can be the hardest thing for folks, and I'm nice about it. So a lot of times if you're ever dropped off, I won't tell you. You'll just won't hear from me, right?
I understand. I
I do it
1
in a
million
nice,
percent
most
understand.
simple way. But right now I'm in a place where, positive vibes, positive energy are important to me. And I just don't have the time, space, or capacity to welcome anything negative right now. I just don't. I'm at my wits end and I don't have time to give you back negative energy, right? So I've just crossed and deleted that out. So I think that's the biggest thing when you're trying to plant something. One, watch who you're around. It's kind of like why if there's a lot of weeds in a field, what are you going to do to plant that plant? You're going to pick them out. You need to start fresh. You need to start fresh. Make sure that soil is good, right? So anything that needs to get out of there, clear it out. Clear that clutter out. And I think that can be hard for people because sometimes it might be a loved one. It might be somebody that's been your road dog for a year, your good girlfriend for years, right? But if they're not understanding what you're trying to do and supporting that, do you need them there?
Right.
Remember, I said be intentional. You got to be intentional about everything in your life. And so I think that's been the biggest and best thing. So, Chris, honestly, my circle's small now. I know a lot of people. My circle is very small, right? And those who are really close to me, it's very small. And it's for a reason, right? Because I'm making sure that everything there is clean, is positive, and it's going to be beneficial and help me. Again, people who really are checking in on me, making sure Kelsey's good. She has everything she needs. And so I think that's the biggest thing. Like, just watch who you're around and who's going to help support you to get to where you need to get to again, achieve that dream and have longevity with that dream.
Having longevity is key. And I believe that is something
Ah,
that we need to always make sure that we keep at the forefront and not the back front of our minds. Having the longevity. You've been in this industry for a nice amount of time now, and everybody always wants to be concerned about, okay, what's next? What are we doing next? But
yeah.
sometimes you have to just pause and
Yeah,
live in the
create the
moment.
moments. Yes. And Chris, I've had to learn that the hard way because I told you I'm
Me
always
too.
thinking about the next thing. But when I meet people, they're like, Kelsey, you've done a lot of stuff, girl. And I'm like, really? And then I think back and I'm like, you do. We have to appreciate ourselves. And I think that's the hardest thing. I'm naturally competitive. Like I said, I'm naturally just always planning for the future. So it's hard to sometimes live in the moment, but you have to appreciate, like you said, everything that's there. Every part of your journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, has got you to this moment, right? Everything that happened has got you to this moment in time, and there's never going to be another moment in time like that. And so you do. It's okay to pat yourself on the back. For our Black woman, it's okay to be unapologetically you. And some people will accept that, some people won't, but you roll with it, right? In life, nobody's supposed to be liked by everyone. Jesus wasn't liked by
Sure
everyone.
wasn't.
Yet here we are, right? So all I'm to say, whatever is needed, to give you that joy and that peace. And, some people get it from social media, some people get it from loved ones, some people just get it from themselves. Like, look in the mirror at night and say, damn, yeah, I did that. But whatever that is, do what you need to do because you do have to appreciate and value you in the moment, especially if you want to be appreciated and valued by others.
When did you realize that you were starting to become appreciated and valued by others?
Good question. And Chris, I had to be honest with you. I still don't know if I am. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Hmm.
I think people like my work. And let me say this disclaimer, I have amazing fans. I mean, I have amazing fans. Chris, right before you, I got a call about doing something in Chicago, doing something in Germany. Like, I'm still to this day like, what? Like, these people are reaching out to me. Like, and I'm forever thankful and forever grateful. But for me to tell you I'm appreciated, Chris, I'd be a lot further in my journey. Again, I'm still clawing. I'm still an underdog. I'm still fighting. And so for me to be appreciated means I'm relaxed. I'm at peace. And I can't say I'm at relaxed and at peace right now in my career because there's still things I'm fighting against, right? There's still things every single day, not just for me, but for other Black women like me, I'm fighting for. Why I'm so active right now in so many groups is because we're not in perfect harmony. We're not in a utopia right now in media, right? There's still diversity issues. There's still
Absolutely.
sexism issues. And so I love that question. But like I said, I don't think to give you an honest answer, I wouldn't say I'm appreciated yet. I think people are still finding out how to appreciate me, how to love me in this media industry, because I'm doing things in a unique way, right? Like I bet on myself. Everybody tells you once you go to journalism school, at least the old way was, go to a small market and work your way back up, which never made sense to me. You're telling me
Ever.
I'm born in the most powerful city in the world and I have to go leave to come back home? No, this is home. This is me. This is mine. But doing that meant I was kind of breaking status quo. And, when you do that, not everybody's going to love that. So essentially, even in my hometown, Chris, I've had to work very, very hard to be appreciated and accepted. And I still don't think I'm at that point yet. I'm still fighting to get on things. I'm still having to fight to show my value and my worth. And so that's why I say I can't fully say that I've been appreciated. I've been appreciated by certain groups, right? Like I think all the groups of people who are like me, like National Association of Black Journalists, has been incredibly amazing to me,
Mm.
right? My people. But I think to really feel appreciated, accepted, again, America's diverse. I need to be appreciated, accepted, and loved by all. And I don't think I'm at that point yet. Not saying I need it from everybody, but to your question, I think every day that's what I'm still having to work and fight for. And hopefully my work shows, that I'm showing I can do this and I'm going to be doing this. And hopefully people see the value, of everything that I'm bringing. So I think they're still finding out, but don't get on the bandwagon, I'd say too late because this K&N train is going to keep on moving.
It is moving. Everybody doesn't get invited to cover things for the NFL. Everybody doesn't get invited to cover things for the NBA and NASCAR, but you have. What advice would you give to those other up and coming or those other young Black journalists that want to follow in your footsteps?
I'd say the biggest thing is one, stay hungry. Like, you can't, for instance, Chris, me and you were at the Super Bowl. We could say, oh, we went to Super Bowl 58, the first one in Vegas, and I'm good. I'm done. Let me just take a little break real quick, right? You got to stay hungry. You have
Got
to
to.
want more. Chris went to Indy. Chris, I was not gonna lie to you. I was tired. That's why I wasn't at Indy. I mean, a girl was washed. Do not spend 10 days in Vegas. Like I have not been that tired in a long time. Like I really was like almost like to call the doctor, like I need life support or something. I mean, I was that tired. But again, there's other things that I've been doing. So you have to stay hungry. You have to keep at it. Like I said earlier, it's what have you done lately? That's the media industry. What have you done lately, right? I'm building, I'm growing. There'll be some things I'll announce soon that I'll be doing in the fall that I hope folks get really, really excited about. I think the other thing, like I said, you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. People always want to, and you do this so well, Chris. People always want to see your content, right? What you're doing. And with consistency, though, you have to be consistent at your work, but it needs to be elevating, right?
Right.
I don't want to see consistently bad work. I want to see consistent work that's elevated. So if I don't see Chris until Super Bowl next year in person, I want to see in that year what he's done to elevate consistently. So I think that's the biggest thing. Like you have to always be growing, finding opportunities to elevate and grow. And I think the last piece of advice I tell young people is you have to network. You have to get outside. I always say this. I can't believe how many people go to networking events and will like go stand somewhere and like not talk to people. If no one doesn't know who you are, why were you there? Why did you waste your time? Ladies, why did you waste your time getting cute and ready? If nobody knows you were there, you didn't talk to anybody and you can't follow up with anybody. So when I say network, I think people just say network, but you have to go out and meet people. My biggest thing, if I'm ever anywhere, somebody has to know my name and that I
Right.
was there. I have to make some type of impression or mark because otherwise, like I said, there's no points. I think that's the biggest thing. Like make sure you're intentional with what you're doing, but as much as you can, you have to get out there and you have to make sure that you don't only know people, but that people know you. So your names again can be spoken in rooms that you're not in because that's truly how opportunities come.
You've had a lot of opportunities, the good, the bad, but you see what comes out of it, and I
Oh.
remember I'll tell on myself, okay, mind you, this is my platform. I can snitch on
You're
me,
allowed to do
okay?
that.
But to say I'm allowed to, there's a reason why this mic says CG, okay?
Chris
As
Gunther show.
exactly. As I was in Vegas and I got a chance to connect with you and I
Yeah.
saw what Cherie was doing, I was just happy and I was just motivated to keep going. And
Oh.
then I want to say it might have been like a day later, I seen you were doing something with Shannon Sharp, and instantly I was thinking, man, I wish I could stay. But I had stuff that I had to hurry up and get back
Right.
home and attend to as like, well, but
Right.
seeing people like you makes you want to do it. One of the reasons I
Yeah.
got into this kind of industry was because there wasn't a lot of people that look like us that can
Mm.
tell our stories the way that we want to tell them. And then I
Yeah.
started thinking, well, guess what? I'm young, I'm articulate, I went to school for it. I'll do it the way that I know how to do it. Here
Yeah.
we are in Women's History Month. Who
Yes.
have been some of the women that have inspired you to make history?
I love everything you just said. And let me just say, shout out to everyone young, gifted, and black. Right, we're thriving, and it's a beautiful thing to see. There's so many women, that I could name. It starts, like I said, it starts with at home. Again, I come from a family of strong black women. It starts with my mom. It starts with my grandmother. Who I had a chance to see on an everyday basis. For me, growing up, and so folks that know this, people call me Kanan, and they called me that growing up, Chris, because everyone said on my own news network, right? So it was a play on CNN. So
I
folks
love
saw
it.
early. But the woman I watched growing up, and she's a Mississippi gal with Mississippi ties like me, is Oprah Winfrey. Like, and what she's done as a black woman of color who was told so many times that she wasn't good enough, that she wasn't talented enough, that she didn't look the part, and what she's gone on to build her own network, folks. Some of y'all watch OWN. Like, I think
Oh
what
yeah.
Oprah Winfrey has done has been so incredible. So she's definitely one. Robin Roberts and her incredible trajectory through sports and now news and what she represents. She's definitely one. Jane Kennedy, fellow girl like me from the area, around the way girl, what she did to really get black women in that door, in sports media, it's so important, to tell these stories. Honestly, I could go on and on and on. I mean, even if we're talking about, today and what we see,
Hmm.
Coco Golf and, what she represents for, black women in sports and tennis. And I mean, there's so many incredible women, Chris, that, have blazed the trail and continuing, right, to blaze that trail. And that's what inspires me. Like you said, I never saw enough, but when I see those women thriving and doing well, it's like, Go on, girl. And I think that's important to remember too with women. Like there's room for all of these women to eat and excel and be championed. And I think that's Toni Morrison. I mean, like I said, I can go on and on and on. Like I'm a woman that reads and a woman again that's inspired by our stories because they need to be told. So I mean, those are just some that come off the top of my head. But there's so many game changers, Black women especially, that are doing it right now. That Black girl magic is sprinkled everywhere, and that's what pushes and motivates me, just to keep on keeping on, keep on trucking, through the good, the bad, and the ugly of this beautiful thing called life.
As they should. Coming to the end now, because I understand you're a busy woman and got so many
I
other things
appreciate you.
that you do. What are some of the things that you have coming out that the people can look forward to?
So exciting. So I will like preview a couple things. So one for all my folks in academia, and if there's any students interested in attending GW, there'll be a cool class I'll be teaching in the fall. So I'm going to preview that. And I would stay tuned because Kelsey's got some exciting things coming up there. Tomorrow, Chris, I'll be doing red carpet for the 32nd annual Walk-ins Award, which is presented by the National Alliance of African American Athletes. It's been so amazing to be part of this event. Essentially, it honors the top 5 high school athletes who play football, who are excelling on the football field and in the classroom, which is what I love to see, right? Scholar athletes. Heading to Houston, Texas soon for a great Women's History Month event, Chris, which I'll be getting honored at, which I'm super excited about. I love the South, y'all. Get me some good food, some good tea, and just being around
Yeah.
this like trailblazing woman, which I'm excited about. Lots of new podcast episodes coming out on Listen In with KNN. And this one I can't fully share yet, but expect to see your girl soon on a TV near you. So that's going to be exciting. Lots of sports coverage coming. As you know, this is the most exciting time for sports. We've got spring training kicking off, right, with baseball, NBA season amping up, getting ready. And shout out to Caitlin Clark for, WNBA draft and preseason WNBA, and then March Madness, of course, which is really huge here in the DMV area. So expect to see me somewhere on your timeline providing coverage for one of the networks, Chris. So thanks again so much. It was honestly so good to see you. And I just hope people can, support the journey. Because again, at the end of the day, I always say I'm just a girl from Germantown trying to live out her dreams.
Well, that young girl from Germantown is doing incredible. One of the last questions that I always ask my guests, and I put them on the spot because I want to see their real reaction.
Ooh,
It's nothing, it's nothing crazy, juicy or nothing. Okay. I don't get down like that. Not one of these other outlets, okay? But
I
I
love
don't
it.
get
We'll
down
keep
like
it
that.
classy on the Chris Gunther show.
Got you. So one of the last questions I always ask my guests is who would you like to see me interview next? But if you
Ooh.
have any type of contact, do you think you can help a young brother out?
Of course. I'm trying to think. See, I don't know everybody you've interviewed. So I'm hoping like I want to
I
say anybody
mean,
that you've interviewed.
you did happen to meet this one guy in Vegas,
Which
brother.
one? I'm like, who?
I
Who did
mean,
I
well, I believe he was a phenomenal tight end, his arms and shoulders like he about to
Are
bust
we
out of
talking
everything.
about Shannon? Look, we all
That's
watch
him.
Shannon and Club Shay Shay. If I have that kind of, we're gonna do a joint interview.
Hey.
Sharp has been doing, just incredible stuff, and I think he deserves. But I mean, he literally has made our social talk the last couple of months.
Man,
All
what?
the interviews, that he's dropped, Chris. I think there's so many people, Chris, but I will tell you, and I love Shannon Sharp, but I think there's so many untold stories of folks that need to be told. And I think you are the perfect person, to do that because I think those are what folks have to be educated on. Like, what comes to mind, Chris, honestly, there's something happening in our schools right now. And I just have to quickly talk about this where they're banning books about us, about Black folks, about Black
Sure
history
are.
and about Black people. So who I want to see you interview, Chris, is like the pioneers, the trailblazers, of sports, who have made that happen, and I love the homage and tribute we pay to these folks. But like last night I met this Black woman gymnast, and I thought I'm pretty versed in the gymnastics world. Dominique Dawes is from my area of Maryland. So I'm like, but this woman was before Dominique Dawes, Chris, and I was just so thrilled. And she was talking about the athletes now that she's bringing to Paris. So there's so many people, but actually I said Dominique Dawes. I want to make it happen for you with Dominique Dawes. So I think we're preparing for the Olympics right now. Summertime is going to be fun in Paris, but and of course we love Simone and Gabby and all those people, but before them there was a Dominique Dawes, right? And Chris, before I got too tall to do gymnastics because I wanted to be like Dominique, but when you reach a certain height, they're like, mom and dad, won't work out. But I think what she represented and what she did was just so incredible and so important. One of the groups I'm a part of is the Montgomery County Sports Hall of Fame Board.
Mm.
Montgomery, Maryland, where she's from. And she was, of course, one of the first people that had a chance to be inducted into that class for what she did and what she represented, as a Black woman in gymnastics. So that's what I want to see Chris Gunther interview, because I think her story is so important. And I really do just hope our young people, know about her and what she represented for the sport.
You had said a couple of things that I just chuckled at because I'm like, you had said you were too tall to do gymnastics.
I
I wish,
was.
I sincerely wish the terms too tall could apply to me. I really do. But I mean, hey,
Why
there's
did you
only
want to do gymnastics? Because then they
not
would have kicked
see,
you out like me.
I played basketball. There's a reason why I played because I couldn't do nothing else. I'm 5'6" for crying out loud. But I mean, hey, conversation for a different day. Before we jump out of here, if anybody wanted to connect with you or follow you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so my best place is check out my website, KelseyNicoleNelson.com. Also check out my podcast, listen in with knn.com. But if you want to follow, which I'd love to, and I love sports banter, bring it to a girl. It's the real K Nelson on social media, across all social media platforms, and of course LinkedIn and Facebook, just Kelsey Nicole Nelson. KNN would love to rock with y'all, so I hope y'all follow. And I look forward to meeting Chris, all your great listeners and viewers.
Appreciate it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. Kelsey Nicole on the Chris Gunther Show. Appreciate you so much for all your love today. Be sure
Yeah.
to like and share this video. Kelsey on the Chris Gunther Show. Cue my theme song. I'll see y'all next time.
Love it. Bye, guys. Have a great one.